Now, don't get me wrong, I think the scene where Peter Parker meets Tony Stark was very awesome. I loved seeing that in the theaters. I also think the airport battle was done very well, but it really doesn't fit in the film because it's not about the main character dynamic. We are now less than a week away from the release of Captain America Brave New World, so now it's time to wrap up our review of the Captain America trilogy with 2016's Captain America Civil War. Looking back, I think I was more hyped for Civil War than for Infinity War. I remember talking through every trailer with my friends about what was going to happen, who was going to win, what characters we were going to see, all that sort of stuff. I loved this movie when I first watched it, and it stayed that way for a while, but recently I will say that I've started to see the flaws that it has. I'm half sarcastic when I say that this film is Avengers 3, as this film really is two movies in one. The third Avengers with the Sokovia Accords, and Captain America 3 with continuing the story of the Winter Soldier. Though I must admit Civil War handles combining two films much better than most projects, that doesn't mean that the missteps can't be seen. Now, thematically, this movie, actually, I should say both movies going on, are very much in line with the themes of Captain America, the Winter Soldier. We just dealt with an overseeing system that abuses power, and now there's another one that is attempting to be put in place over the Avengers by the United Nations, not by Hydra and not by S.H.I.E.L.D. Of course, this is how the villain of the movie, Baron Zemo, frames Bucky for killing members of the UN, including King T'Chaka, who we'll talk more about later. I'm not going to go into the debate about the Sokovia Accords, whether that was right or not, who is right and how they go about it. I'm not going to talk about that right now because other people have already done that for me. This movie does force both Steve Rogers and Tony Stark to show us what their values really are. Steve wants to protect those he cares about, but he wants to be able to choose, and he wants those he cares about to be able to choose as well. Due to paranoia and guilt, Tony is, at least in the moment, willing to surrender his rights if it means being held in check. What Cap said way back in the first Avengers film about Tony really fighting for himself is being fulfilled before our eyes. Tony Stark is not the authority-defying playboy anymore, he's become just another guilt-ridden government pawn. All that is to say, this is what drives the Avengers side of the film, but the real dramatic tension comes down to what is to be done about the Winter Soldier. The movie makes clear what was hinted at in the last film. The Winter Soldier killed Tony Stark's parents. This is what ignites the film's final battle, and is definitely the best scene of the film, and one of, if not the best fight scenes in the MCU. This scene happens, though, because of the protagonist's mistake. Steve did not tell Tony the truth when he should have. Would Tony have still tried to hunt Bucky down? Probably, yeah. But I believe it would have ended up better than it does here, where both characters get so close to actually killing each other. A major theme of the Captain America trilogy is truth and honesty, and Steve Rogers had not been fully honest with Tony as he should have been. For all the ways Tony fails in this film, Steve admits through his final letter that he had failed Tony and by extension, the Avengers, in this way. He was so determined to protect his best friend that he harmed his other friends, especially Tony, in the process. You may notice that I haven't really mentioned a whole lot of the other characters in this movie, even though there are a lot so far in this video. And that's because a lot of the other characters just feel sidelined and they don't end up contributing a whole lot to the overall film. And that's because they aren't a part of the main dynamic. The main dramatic tension is about Captain America, Iron Man, and Bucky Barnes, and that's really the Captain America 3 arc of the movie. But because this film is also trying to be Avengers 3, we have all these other characters thrown in as well. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the scene where Peter Parker meets Tony Stark was very awesome. I loved seeing that in the theaters. I also think the airport battle was done very well, but it really doesn't fit in the film because it's not about the main character dynamic. The reason why the final fight of 2-on-1 hits harder than the big scene with both sides of the Avengers duking it out is because that is what the movie is really about, and that's the fight that we care about the most. This is how the movie has a pretty good setup. It goes off the rails and then gets back on track fully for the third act. For how many of Civil War's characters end up getting sidelined, though, there is one exception to this, and that is the introduction of another new character, T'Challa, aka Black Panther, played by Chadwick Boseman. Because of Wakanda and Vibranium, I think it was perfect for them to introduce the character alongside Captain America. And I will admit that the first couple of times I watched this movie, I didn't really care for Black Panther that much. I think I actually like very much disliked his character in this movie because he's pretty much an arrogant jerk for most of his screen time until the very end. But after watching both Black Panther films multiple times and thinking about Civil War again, I'm understanding what they did with the character. They had to force him as well to have the arc of realizing that he fell for the villain's trick and had made judgments too quickly. It's a great scene at the end of the film where he decides to let go of his vengeance. This is so T'Challa can be the example to follow in the Black Panther films, especially. The ending of the Captain America trilogy is complicated by the decision to try and be 2 movies in 1. Though it does handle this better than most and gives us some of the best action of the MCU to date, and also some really good character moments with Captain America, Bucky Barnes, and Iron Man, the movie still has its flaws with too much going on in one film, rather than focusing on the main story. Captain America Civil War gets a 7.9 out of 10. Hello everybody, welcome back to Movies with Michael. If you enjoyed this movie review, you can show it by leaving a like on this video and comment down below what you thought about this movie. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or was it right there in between? You can tell me all that down below in the comments section. And please remember to subscribe to this channel and click the notification icon to be notified about my latest videos. That's all for now, and I'll see you all next time.